Everybody, welcome to another AI Wisdom podcast. Today with us, we have Nabil Tayeb. He is co-founder at Draft and Goal. We're going to talk about AI, the state of AI in Montreal, and everything in between, founding a startup in the AI field, which is quite interesting. Nabil, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about DNG?
Yeah, thank you, Charles, for having me. And yes, so my name is Nabil Tayeb. I'm the co-founder of Draft and Goal. You can find us at dng.ai. So we are one of the many startups that are popping out in the AI field. But to be honest, like we've been around we've started this project almost 3 years ago. So it's been a while. So we are specialized in generative AI, and we offer a product for enterprise where we help them generate content at scale with their own model. So rather than using an out-of-the-box model, we offer them custom model trained on their own data, and they can do generation based on that, solving a lot of issues in especially around data privacy protection and also alignment with the company in terms of output.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. First, I want to talk about your background. So you worked in Spain, you worked with various countries, France, Qatar, Hungary, Romania, Saudi, etc., etc. I also see some Hong Kong in there. So tell us about your background and how it shaped you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity, and I think I was quite lucky with that, to travel a lot and to travel a lot. I've lived in France, in Spain, in Germany, and now in Canada. It's been like 12 years that I live here in Montreal. And as an entrepreneur, yeah, I think it has shaped me a lot because you see very different approaches for the same thing. And it's funny because when you travel, when you live in different locations, you just see that people do the same thing as you, but with little variations. And you realize that there's not only one way to solve a problem. There's many ways to solve a problem, and all are kind of equal based on who is the end user and what are the preferences of the end user. And I think it has allowed me to be open-minded, to understand that it's not only about, I need to find a solution to solve this problem, but who is going to be the end user of the product that I'm offering. And based on that, there's a lot of tweaking and adaptation that you have to do, because it might not work not because your product is not good, but because you didn't take into consideration that people have a specificity and preferences that are not a judgment of value. It's not better or worse. It's just that it has to be different.
No, super important to know about your end customers, do personas and so forth. I've been using Chat GPT to help me with that. Makes everything simpler. What about Parlor.club? So I think that was your first big
Venture.
business. Yeah, venture. You've got massive PR, and I've seen that you recently had PR as well with DNG. Tell us a bit more about the PR aspect of it all, because I'm not that good or / experienced in PR yet. Tell us some tips that you have to get featured on front covers or getting interviewed by journalists and so forth.
Yeah, I think one of the main role of a startup founder is to get the word out there. And to get the word out there, you need to communicate. Yes, obviously, like there's different strategy, different approach. You can use SEO, you can use PPC, but the truth is PR is very powerful. And I was talking lately with my co-founder. We've been featured in a lot of traditional medias like newspaper, TV shows, and so on. And the power of the traditional media is absolutely insane. You can see it on your analytics. Like you go on you are printed on a large newspaper, and the following day you see like this massive spike of referral from that newspaper, and and not only that, also there's a lot of people reaching out to you on LinkedIn, on different social media, and a lot of people like asking about what you do, how they can help, how they can join, or how they can invest. So my advice is really you need to find, obviously not all businesses are kind of newsworthy, but they're always newsworthy within your industry. At least if it's not newsworthy within your industry, maybe there's a component that you are missing in your communication. And you need to hire PR. Yes, you can go online and say, hey, how do I write a press release and everything, and you will be happy because you have a press release. But when you have you have a PR person, they will go and pitch your idea, answer question to journalists. They have a pool of journalists that are kind of trusted journalists that maybe the connection will be easier to get you featured. And the truth is, we are in a world where a lot of content is produced every day. Journalists, they need content, they need to have material to write about. And so there's a lot of opportunities. Yes, at the beginning, it sounds and it looks a little bit scary, but honestly, we had a massive amount of PR for this project. I started to work a little bit on that with my first venture, that was Power Club, just right after my MBA. I did an MBA here at HEC in Montreal in 2014, and right after I was just like, okay, let's start a business. It's going to be my first business. Let's not make it complicated, and let's learn about like what it looks like to run a business and to develop like a product and an audience. And right at that moment, I was already aware that being featured in newspaper and everything, it would give you a lot of push. And especially for startups, it gives you some street credibility. Lots of startups, like people are just saying, oh, you're just popping out of nowhere, and they are just like, oh, maybe you're not another of these thousands of entrepreneurs that are just popping out. And but when you are featured on the media, and we really see it, you can talk with some client, with some prospect in a very direct way, whereas when you don't have any media coverage, it's a bit more difficult. And the last point, why you should do it, we see it especially in the AI field right now, because there's a lot of demands of for experts and people that are going to give their perspective on what's going on with AI. Once you start to be in the pool of people that have been contacted by some medias, you will see that other media will pick up on that and reach out to you and so on. So there's some kind of snowballing effect. And as a startup, like, I'm going to tell you, like, the return on investment that I had, or that we had on the PR campaign, for example, for Draft and Gold, since January. The PR campaign started mid-January of this year. The return on investment, I've never run any campaign with such a high return investment ever.
Very impressive. And how do you get in touch with these folks? Yeah, you should be able to hear me.
Chad.
Yeah.
You cannot hear you.
That's on your side. Maybe disconnect your headphones or something.
No, let me test my audio. Can you talk?
Yeah.
No, it's gone on the computer. Don't know what's going on. Can you talk?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry
I
about
was
that.
asking for the journalists, how do you get in touch with them? Because I specialize in outreach. Namely, I have their emails. What should I mention to them? That I have a story, that I have a headline, that I have a hook, and that this could help them with their careers. So like if they're reporting on startups and they're looking for exciting stuff, controversial stuff, juicy stuff, headlines or scoops, as we say here in Montreal, what should say my email basically? How should I attract them to cover my own business or my own happenings?
Yeah, so we with our PR Morgan that helped us working on that. Really, first, you're totally right. Your hook, your story, what's your subject line? This is very important because this is going to be the first thing that the writer is going to see. What we find is that there's a step you need to connect either to the news at the moment, but you need to connect to something to give the writer some context, and especially when you are talking to generalist journalists, they need some context. Okay, you are doing great, but what does it impact? What does it do? And for example, in our case, our first PR was about like our AI detector that we launched in January, and the subject line, I cannot remember the exact wording of the subject line, but was like Montreal startup wants to help teachers to detect Chat GPT. And there's a whole story there because first there's a Montreal startup. So there's and we adapted the headline for France or for Quebec or for different locations because the flavor is a little bit different. So Montreal startup already it gives into like the pride of the local company that does great thing on the world stage. And then wants to help teachers. So there's some kind of like, yeah, this situation of like there's danger for the teachers and like find about ChatGPT. Obviously, we had a massive coverage. Why? Because we tied ourselves into this ChatGPT craze, and especially to the issue with teachers and student cheating, and I think this was like for us a perfect storm because there was like different elements and that help us to do that. But really, what I think the recipe stays the same, whatever you want to do in terms of PR, is that you need to tie your own story to a bigger story that people would. It will help them to have some context and to say, okay, I'm going to talk about this because of this. And I guess it's always a challenge to find the right hook. Obviously, like when we started to work with Morgan, she had her own pool of journalists that she had access to. So I think one of the important thing, and now we see it because now all the journalists that we interacted with. We exchanged some emails and everything. Now we have their contacts, and we know that we can activate them whenever we will need them in the future. So tell them, hey, and we did it already. So we had like a second news, and we just dropped an email or like a message and like, hey, just to let you know, we've released that feature and blah, blah, and so on. And we can see that some of them just picked it up and they say, hey, like an update on this story, or they would update the original story, or they will release a new piece of content. And I think this is the kind of thing that we always feel like, oh, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going just to look at a tutorial online and write 500 words. It's really easy. I know my business and I know how it works. But when you are helped by people that are really specialized in that, in the outreach, especially for traditional media, it helps a lot and it saves a lot of time. So like our investment was worth every single penny we paid to the PR agency.
100% cool. Well, from the AI side of things and the product side of things, so what's the difference between DNG and Chat GPT, and why wouldn't Chat GPT help accomplish similar goals to DNG?
So there's different. We need to backtrack on that, because there's a lot of convolution between ChatGPT, the models, the apps, and so on, and it gives into a little bit of confusion, because ChatGPT and OpenAI, and especially ChatGPT, they've built a huge brand, and now the word ChatGPT is equal to AI, and in the mind of a lot of people, like it's kind of a synonym. So in terms of branding, you need to give kudos to OpenAI, because they stole the branding for the AI field, at least for now. We don't know what's going to happen, but for now, ChatGPT means AI. So really, when you look at how the AI ecosystem is built, you have a first layer, which is, without talking about the layer of GPUs and everything like that, companies like NVIDIA and so on are benefiting from. So there's that layers of GPUs where you can run models. Okay, let's say we take the base layer. On top of this layer, you have a layer with foundational models. So foundational models can be GPT-4, can be Palm, it can be Llama for Meta, Bloom, or Cohere, different models. So these are really the models that are trained with data and that are creating like the AI magic, let's say. And these are foundational models. So some are closed source, such as OpenAI, which is like a little bit contradicting their name, but they were meant to be an open source project, but they ended up being closed source. So it's a box where you have an input and an output, and you don't have any control on whatever is in between. And then you have like open source models such as Bloom, Meta with Llama. They kind of open sourced it to the researcher, but it has been leaked into the public. So now a lot of people have also access to this model, which is actually really powerful. And so all these foundational models, they feed into the apps, and the apps are the top layer of all these models, and they kind of give into the user interface. So if you take companies like Jasper, Copysmith, CopyAI, Writer, and others, they use a foundational model, and they build a user interface, and then the user can interact with the foundational model in a very practical way. And this is how the models are built right now, or the ecosystem is built right now. One of the things that happened with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is kind of one of a kind because it defeats all the things that we thought that were like the rules to be successful, especially in that field. Is that first, the interface is really minimalistic. There's barely any UI and UX. You have like a text field to input your prompt, and at this point, it's not anymore prompt. It's actually more query, and then you get the answer box. It's really basic. So a lot of people that were working on very complex UI and UX, and when ChatGPT is very basic. So the contradiction in the strategy of OpenAI right now is that there is ChatGPT, and now they are overlapping with the top layer. So they are foundational model with their GPT-4 or whatever version of their model they have. And they were leaving the space to the users, to the founders to create apps on top of that. With ChatGPT, they said, hey, we are going to release our kind of minimalistic app that ended up being better than most of the products out there on the market. And the thing is that if you understand this ecosystem, then you realize that most of the apps that you see right now are built on the base of GPT-4, and then you have other apps that are based on different models. In our case, we are different from ChatGPT because we offer companies to use a custom model that is locally hosted and that is trained on their own data. So the output is way better than, or is way more in line with what the company does than what they would have with by using GPT-4. And
how much data do I need to use your app? Because what if I have like 10 blog posts? Is that enough to feed the AI?
No, 10 blog posts would not be enough. And that's why we really target the enterprise market, because the enterprise market, large companies, they have a lot of content, a lot of text available to retrain a model. In the future, we will see that some fine-tuning will be possible with very limited pieces of content. It's not the case right now. You still need to feed a significant amount of content. But the great thing is that then you have your AI that's yours, locally, trained on your own data, and there's no data leaks or whatsoever. You've seen what has happened right now in Italy. Italy has blocked ChatGPT a few days ago. Why? Because they understood that a lot of data was fed into or sent to the servers of OpenAI without any safeguard in terms of data ownership and so on. So it's really important to see that right now we are in arms race in terms of technology, but once we will get really this is what's going to happen in the next few months in deploying different AIs into the real world, into companies and so on, being able to have like a self-contained and self-hosted model is going to be key for any business and companies.
Yeah, I agree. Pod is already over. Nabil, where can people find out more about you and your company?
So they can find more about us on https dng.ai. They can contact me on LinkedIn also if they have a specific question about what we do, and if they want to have some tips about how to have a successful PR campaign. And yes, I'm on Twitter also. I'll send you my handle so you can put it in the description. And yeah, I'm really happy to help and to discuss, because right now it's real time where you want to share and interact with people that are in this field.